All right, so the point here is that there was a beginning to the universe, and we'll see later a sustaining cause exists right now. Let's now take a look at the teleological argument. This is the design of the universe and also the design of life. We'll start with the design of the universe, and this is sometimes called the fine-tuning of the universe. The question is, what explains fine-tuning? Is it design or something else? And what do we mean by the fine-tuning of the universe? The universe, aspects of the universe, certain constants in the laws of nature and the laws of nature themselves are so supremely fine-tuned that if you were to change any one of these factors just slightly, certainly there'd be no life here on Earth, and there might not even be galaxies. There might be nothing more than helium or hydrogen in the universe. There might not be anything, because the universe may have collapsed back on itself. In fact, this is exactly what Stephen Hawking says. Again, an atheist puts it this way. He says, if the expansion rate of the universe was different by 1 part in 1,000 million a second after the Big Bang, the universe would have collapsed back on itself or never developed galaxies. In other words, if you were to change the expansion rate, that infinitesimal amount, at the very beginning of the universe, we wouldn't be here. The same thing is true with our current expansion rate, sometimes called the cosmological constant. That is fine-tuned, apparently, to 1 in 10 to the 20 precision, which is an incomprehensible number. The gravitational force is fine-tuned to 1 in 10 to the 40. If it were altered by more than that, we wouldn't be here. What's 1 in 10 to the 40? Well, you know how numbers work with these exponents on them, these scientific notation, 10 to the 40. That means 1 part in 1 with 40 zeros following it. In fact, let me just give you an illustration of this. The common dating of the universe, the scientific dating says the universe is 13.8 billion years old. We can talk about the age of the Earth later during the Q&A if you want. But let's just take that dating. What is 13.8 billion years old? It's 10 to the 18 seconds. Okay, what's the difference between 10 to the 18 seconds and 10 to the 19 seconds? How much bigger is 10 to the 19 than 10 to the 18? Yeah, 1 0 means it's 10 times bigger. You're adding a 0. This is 10 to the 40. You go, Frank, I can't get my head around that number. I know, let me give you an illustration. Take a tape measure and stretch it across the entire known universe. That's a long way, by the way. Set the gravitational force at a particular inch mark on that tape measure. I know gravity's not measured in inches. This is just to give you a scale idea in your mind. If you were to move the strength of gravity 1 inch in either direction, we wouldn't be here. That's 1 in 10 to the 40 precision. There's only 3 possible explanations for that value being right where it is. One is physical necessity. It had to be there. No, it didn't have to be there. It could have been here, could have been here, it could have been a million miles that way. The second is chance. I don't have enough faith to believe it just happened to arrive there by chance, whatever that is. You notice that chance is not a cause, by the way. Chance is a word we use to describe mathematical possibilities. There's not a force out there known as chance. So when scientists begin to use the word chance, what they really mean is, we don't know. The third possibility after physical necessity and chance is design. Somebody designed it to be right there. It seems to me that's the best explanation. In fact, again, this man, Arno Penzias, is not a Christian. Actually, I think he renewed his Jewish faith after discovering the radiation afterglow, the R in surge, the remnant heat from the initial Big Bang explosion. He put it this way. He said, astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing, one with the very delicate balance needed to provide exactly the right conditions required to permit life, and one which has an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan. It's not just these constants about the universe that appear to be fine-tuned. Our solar system appears to be designed with us in mind. For example, where are we in the solar system? Right there, third rock from the sun. If we were just a little bit closer to or a little bit further away, we wouldn't be here. A little bit closer to, we'd burn up. A little bit further away, we'd freeze. We are what scientists call the Goldilocks zone. It is not too hot. It is not too cold. It is the axial tilt, 23.5 degrees. Change that slightly, we don't exist. Earth rotation, 24 hours, change that slightly, we don't exist. The size and distance of the moon from us, change that slightly, we don't exist. Oxygen is 21% in the atmosphere. If it were 15%, we'd all suffocate. If it were 25%, spontaneous fires would break out. If Jupiter was not in its current orbit, we wouldn't be here. Why? What does Jupiter do for us? Go ahead. What does it do? You are absolutely right. Give that young man a hand. Man, he's getting excited about Jupiter, isn't he? All right. You're absolutely right. That's what Jupiter does. Jupiter's gravitational force is so strong that it attracts many of the meteors and space junk to it rather than us. In fact, if you take a close-up look at Jupiter, you see what those purple marks are? Those purple marks are comet fragment strikes that are bigger than the Earth. Thank God for Jupiter. Because if Jupiter wasn't there, we wouldn't be here. In fact, I saw a headline on the Drudge Report about a year ago, and every time I read the Drudge Report, I think the world is ending. Anyway, it said this: scientists believe major meteor to hit Earth in 2040. I am rooting for Jupiter. You want to get the size of Jupiter? Check this out. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Earth. Look at poor Pluto down here. You know, Pluto recently has been demoted as a planet. I don't know about you, but I think it's size discrimination. Take a look at this. You can hardly see Pluto. Take a look at this. That's Arcturus. That's another star in our galaxy. Here's the sun. Jupiter is 1 pixel in size on this scale. Earth is invisible. Pluto, forget about it. Now take a look at, you got Arcturus here? Okay, keep an eye on Arcturus. Where's Arcturus now? There's Arcturus to the left of the white star Rigel. That's Antares. That's another star in our galaxy. That's not outside our galaxy. That's in our galaxy. The sun is 1 pixel in size on this scale. Jupiter is invisible. Earth, Pluto, forget about them. The heavens are awesome. In fact, if the Earth was the size of a golf ball, Beetlejuice here would be 5 or 6 Empire State Buildings high. Think about that. That's just in our galaxy. All the distance, or the average distance between stars in our galaxy is 30 trillion miles. All that distance is necessary for us to exist here on Earth. If it were much different, gravitational forces would cause us not to be able to stay in orbit, and therefore we couldn't live. Now, 30 trillion miles, how far is that? Far. Take you at least 2 tanks of gas in a Toyota Prius to go 30 trillion miles. That is if the gas pedal doesn't stick. Now, I was out at the Desert Museum in Tucson, Arizona a number of years ago. You guys ever been out in the Desert Museum? It's outside of Tucson a little ways. And so if you're out there at night, there's no city lights. And if it's a clear night, you can see thousands of stars in the sky. And one night we're out there, and the guide said, hey, it's so clear tonight, if we look up at 9:03, we're going to see the space shuttle in orbit. I said, oh, come on, we're not going to see the space shuttle in orbit. It's only 120 feet long. It's 350 miles up. We're not going to see it. Oh, me of little faith. At 9:03, the guy goes, look! And we look up in the sky, about 70 degrees above the horizon, there's an object streaking out of the west relative to us about like this. I mean, it's really cooking. When it got right about here, it disappeared. I don't know whether Scotty beamed it up or what. But it was just cruising across the sky, and then suddenly it was gone. Well, actually what happened was, despite the fact that we were in total darkness, the space shuttle was so high up, the sun was still reflecting off it so we could see it. As soon as it got out of the range of the sun, we couldn't see it anymore. Now, when the space shuttle is in orbit, the space shuttle is traveling at about 18,000 miles an hour. That's 5 miles per second. You got trouble getting to work in the morning? Take the space shuttle. You'll be there. Think about that. 5 miles a second. Now, I did a little calculation to try and figure out how long would it take us if we could get in the space shuttle and go from our star, the sun, to another star in our galaxy an average distance away 30 trillion miles. In other words, if we could go 5 miles a second, how long would it take us to go 30 trillion miles? How long do you think it would take us? A long time. That's a good answer, sir. It would take us 201,450 years. That means if you got in the space shuttle at the time of Christ and started traveling to another star an average distance away in our galaxy, you'd be less than 1/100th of the way there right now. And we're going to explore space. No, we're not. We're not going anywhere in space. Who'd like to go to the next nearest star? We'll go. Get in, kids. Are we almost there yet, Dad? Another 200,000 years. Play some more Xbox. No. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. In fact, you see this? This picture right here is from the ground. You see that little square right there? That's this square from the Hubble Space Telescope. Those are galaxies, heavenly bodies, stars. The heavens are awesome. How many stars are out there? Estimate about equivalent to the number of grains of sand on all the beaches on all the earth. And to go from one star to another star, going 5 miles a second, will take you over 200,000 years. February 1st, 2003, President Bush goes into the East Room in the White House. It's Saturday morning, 9 a.m. They turn the TV camera on. Every major network carries his address. Saturday morning, 9 a.m.? Why? The president looks in the camera and says, "My fellow Americans, this morning our country experienced a great tragedy. Upon re-entry into the atmosphere, the space shuttle Columbia burned up in the skies over Texas. There are no survivors. The Columbia is lost." The president then went on to quote from Isaiah chapter 40, beginning in verse 25. Why Isaiah chapter 40? Because in Isaiah chapter 40, according to Isaiah, God is speaking. And what does God say? "To whom will you compare me, or who is my equal, says the Holy One." In other words, you want a comparison to know what I'm like? Lift your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these stars? And name them one by one. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. The president looked back in the camera and said, "The same God that created and named all these stars is the same God that created and knows the names of the 7 astronauts who perished today. While they did not return safely home to us, we can all now pray they've all returned safely home." You want to know who God is like? Most Christians have the wrong idea of who God is like. We think God is a big angel. No, God is not a big angel. You want to know who God is like? Meditate on the attributes of God. A spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, moral, personal, intelligent, sustaining, personal cause. Then remove all limits from your mind. That's God. Why is there a second commandment? Thou shalt make no graven image. At least one reason why is there a second commandment. Because any image you make of an infinite being necessarily limits his majesty. You can't draw a picture of infinity. Everything we know in our experience here on earth is limited. It's finite. God is unlimited, infinite. If he's an ounce of any attribute, he's infinite in that attribute. If he's an ounce of love, infinite love. Ounce of justice, infinite justice. Ounce of power, infinite power. He is the standard by which everything else is measured. Psalm 103, verse 11 says, God's love to those that fear him exceeds the height of the heavens above the earth. How high are the heavens above the earth? Stars equivalent to grains of sand on all the beaches on all the earth. 200,000 years at 5 miles a second between those stars. From our perspective, infinite. Even though that's still finite, that's still limited. That's why the Bible says the heavens declare the glory of God. Look to the heavens. If you want to have an idea of an infinite being, look to the heavens, and even the heavens are finite.